Let me ask you this question. How many times have you made a mistake with C-suites or senior executive, either presenting, sending an email in a QBR, yearly review, a proposal, an idea, or one of your team members or managers, directors have done that, and you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do next? This is more common than you think. So that's why in today's class, I put together 5 common mistakes that I would like you to avoid, but most likely, what would you do instead? Are we ready? Making a mistake during a presentation, an email, a proposal, an idea with C-suites or senior executive can be very challenging. Actually, embarrassing too. However, I want you to understand today that everybody makes mistakes. Failure is part of life. What I would like you to focus on instead of that is how are you going to fix that mistake? How you are going to put perspective into it, how you're gonna manage and correct that situation, and then how can you learn from it and integrate it so it doesn't happen again right away, because time is not really a friend. When you make a mistake or your team members make a mistake, we need to focus on the solution and the correction of it on a timely matter. Okay, I want you to focus on that instead of just a mistake or just a failure. But before we start, I want you to take a second and realize that when you or your team members make a mistake, the very first thing before we make a plan is to stay calm, but most important, accept that you made a mistake. And you're gonna say, well, Christy, obviously, if I make a mistake, I'm gonna be accountable for it. Not necessarily. I have been in situations in which different managers or directors, they don't take responsibility. They blame other people. They deflect the responsibility to other people instead of taking action themselves. And this creates toxicity in the environment and ultimately equals attrition. So the sooner you accept that you made a mistake, that something that you propose is not heading in the right direction, the better you can fix it and you can come up with different solutions, expand your perspective, and get things going instead of just staying in the same environment. Does that make sense to you? Remember, you cannot change what you cannot accept. And you can face very heavy consequences as well as your teams. All right. So stay calm, focus on what is the mistake, what happened in a very objective manner without losing your mind. It's very natural to feel embarrassed, even anxious when somebody makes a mistake. It can be either a typo on an email or misleading a conversation. I want you to take a deep breath when these things happen so you can compose and see the situation holistically and measure what can be the impact and the consequence of that mistake so you can fix it, correct it, and propose different solutions. Again, ASAP, right? Okay, so now that you acknowledge your mistake or your team member acknowledged that something happened, I'm gonna go through the very first common mistake while presenting to senior executive or C-suites. Number 1, you talk too much, you talk in circles with no specific points. And you will say, well, Christy, why is this a mistake? Remember, we're talking to senior executives, we're talking to senior management, you're talking to C-suites. Time is the most valuable resource for everyone. So if you go in circles without a precise, concise, clear message, your message is going to be lost. And that's a mistake because you're going to lose credibility when it comes to what you're trying to transmit or ultimately what you want to accomplish with that presentation, with that idea, in that email, in that reunion, in that session. I'm going to read you a real example, okay? I kind of wanted to talk to you about something, you know, the meeting we had last week. On a monthly staffing, we went over a lot of stuff, and that was a lot of the team on a call, and we ended up failing behind some of the end of days deliverables for that client. We wound up having some people leave on break when they shouldn't have. There was just some stuff that didn't work the way it should because most of the management team were on that call. What I said is we went over a lot of stuff, but it was mostly staffing numbers and some training dates and things like that, you know. That's a lot. Anyways, Many of the managers were off the floor, and I'm thinking maybe there is a better way we might be able to communicate that information. And at the end of the day, you didn't say anything. There was no specific, clear, concise problem, situation, message. So by the end of this, you already lost your audience. By the way, if you haven't watched my first video for C-suites and senior executive, I'm gonna leave you in the description the link in which I share how critical it is to be concise and intentional when we're presenting a new idea, proposal, an initiative to C-suites and senior executives. So if you haven't watched it, go to the description and watch it now. Remember, vague explanations equals lack of clarity, and that translates to a waste of time. So number 2, making up answers. Guys, please do not lie. And I don't care what kind of excuses are you gonna tell me, well, Christy, yada yada, to justify. Lying is not only not ethical, but at the end of the day, all the truth is gonna come up and you're gonna look as someone that cannot be trusted and not competent to do the job. So it doesn't matter if you're scared, if you were intimidated by the audience. Most of the time when this kind of things happens is you're in a presentation, staff review, you are giving some updates of what is going on, and you are not prepared with the answers. Let's say that it has been a spike when it comes to attrition numbers and a specific KPI that is not performing. And you and I, we both know by now that it can be seasonal, it can be many reasons, and you, as the owner of your business, need to understand what is going on behind the scenes. My point with this is lack of preparation is usually what make people lie or make up information that don't exist. Guys, don't do it. Just don't do it, okay? And instead of making up information, this is what I would like you to try. I don't have that information at the moment, but I'm gonna look into it. Can we circle back tomorrow? Or whenever the day is that you're gonna circle back. I'm not fully familiar with this, whatever it is, but let me look into details into the historical data and get back to you with the answers or the results. I want to be transparent with you. I don't have that information available at this point, but let me get back to you on that one by the end of the day. I want to make sure I give you real-time data. There is many other ways you can talk to this C-suite or senior executive audience without making up something that you don't know. This can be catastrophic, guys, because at the end of the day, remember, when you present information, data, numbers, or an idea or an initiative is to fix a problem, right? So at the end of the day, if you provide wrong information, if you make up information, if you lie, this team is going to make decisions based on that. And the consequences can be chaotic. That definitely can impact your team, the company, and obviously the client that you work with, or the clients if you are multi-geo and multi-clients. And if you want to learn more specific techniques and strategies on how to manage these audiences and your clients and your teams with confidence, today is the day to sign up to my next bootcamp waiting list. The link is in the description, so you receive all the details on when, how, and with all the promotions included. Number 3, inaccurate information. We talk about making up information. We said don't lie, remember. Now we're talking about giving inaccurate information. This can be wrong percentages or data in an email, wrong percentages in a presentation. It can be that you receive information, you did not check it, or somebody else put a wrong information. Again, guys, mistakes happen. At the end of the day, what I want you to leave after you listen to this video is what you're gonna do next. What your manager is going to do next, what your supervisor is going to do next, and make sure that you close that loop so it doesn't happen again, okay? So Christy, what do I do? You need to provide the correct information. So if you are in the middle of a presentation and is your audience the one who points out like, oh, but this data is not correct, what I would like you to do is take the feedback, look for the information, and make sure that you get the accurate data. If you are lucky enough to have that information handy because you are prepared, then go ahead, look for it and move on. Provide it and move on. Nothing happens, send it with the correct info, apologize, take ownership. Next, if you don't, make sure that you circle back providing the correct information, and if somebody else make this mistake, provide a coaching. If you were the one who didn't have a chance because you were doing something else or 20 things at the same time, which I don't recommend to multitask to that extent, make sure that you take responsibility and don't blame anybody else. All right, so I want you to keep things into perspective. Don't freak out. Look for the accurate information, take accountability, close the loop, and move on. Here are some things that you can say in a step. I want to take full responsibility on this. Let me gather the correct information and send it back to you by the end of the day. I understand the gravity of this error. Let me look for the correct information and send it you right away, if you have it handy. If one of your team members, one of your managers, supervisors made a mistake, said something that shouldn't, sent information that was not correct, I'm taking immediate action to correct this and prevent any potential risk by doing X, Y, Z. That's it. Senior executive and C-suites wants to understand is how you're gonna close the loop and that you actually do it. That's very important. Because many people say, well, Christy, what do I say? What do I do? Most important to make sure that you follow through. You can say, thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate your understanding while we're navigating through this challenge. This and this and this is what we're doing. It's going to be completed by X day. I'm taking care of that, or whoever is the owner. It has to be an owner, guys. Always. Remember, most important is to be genuine and committed to take accountability towards that mistake or that failure. So create your plan and close it. Number 4, incorrect usage of adjective or absolutes. What does that mean and why is this a mistake? Very common actually for managers, new directors or supervisors transitioning into the first role. We identify a huge problem. Is it really huge? We lost a ton of people. How many is really a ton of people? Big drop on revenue. What exactly is a big drop in revenue? Nobody signed up for this incentive. Really? Nobody? Did we really got all our resources in place? Are we putting our A game on this? All supervisors are going to resign if we do this. How many are really in risk? It is different if you say, for example, if we identify an attrition risk in one of our supervisors in XYZ project, this is what we're doing to prevent that. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever are the action items. I'm gonna keep you in the loop next week, or do you want to touch base by the end of the week, by the end of the day, whatever is the action item. You see, it's different than saying all supervisors are going to resign if we do this. I want you to understand that what is something for you can be a different perspective for senior executives, C-suites, and any other audience that you are speaking with. And this kind of adjective, I call them mistakes because it can and will create unnecessary escalations and fires that you don't want. You don't want to be the reason of these fires or these escalations. It can be easily avoided by the way you communicate. Words like never, nobody, can't, wrong, everybody, stupid, impossible, none of them, all of them, every person, always. Those are considered absolutes. Make sure that you are very conscious and aware on how and when you're going to use adjective. Mistake number 5, not speaking up in a meeting, in a presentation, in a QBR, in a staff session with information, relevant information that you have. Let's say that somebody else is talking nonsense and you do have the answers because you prepare. You follow through your action plans and you have a specific, clear information with you. but you feel intimidated, or your team members feel intimidated because C-suites and senior executives are there. So this is more about confidence, guys, and we can do a complete session of a year on confidence, and that's why I created the Bootcamp Supercharge Your Communication Powers, which is a robust, intense booster in the way you communicate, because that's tied with confidence. And remember, confidence comes from the inside, not external validation. So this is going to be very simple. You share the data, the information with the relevant data that support that, to make sure C-suites and senior executive, they don't leave with a wrong perspective, a wrong perception on something. Remember what we talked about in the very first video. You have a very short, limited amount of time to put your information together. So let's say that the session is already done, and you unfortunately felt intimidated and did not share this information. What do I do, Christine? What I would like you to do then, go back immediately to whoever point out that question and put your information together, either through an email or call that person through Teams, or if somebody sent a recap of the call of action, you can go ahead and put that information together there. And next time, just share the information that you have. We make decisions, very important decisions, with the information that we manage in present. So to avoid any of these mistakes is preparation, focus on the outcome, a strategic relevance, and engage in the conversation, that session, that meeting, that presentation, that innovative idea that you're presenting or your team members are presenting, and adapt your presentation to that audience. Remember, it's not about you, it's about your audience. But I want you to be intentional when you have any kind of interaction, either virtual, in person, via email, presentations, proposals, QBRs, and senior executive and C-suites are involved. So you are precise, prepare, focus on the key points, and provide a specific and relevant information. That's going to boost your confidence, and at the end of the day, your message is going to come across very powerful and with an impact. Being a leader of change is a huge responsibility. So we are in continuous growth in call centers and BPOs industries right now, especially in Latin American and Caribbean countries. So if one of your team members, managers, directors, supervisors make a mistake, be mindful that we all make mistakes. Don't get in the loop of pointing out who has the blame. Don't get in that game, okay? Make sure this person, if it's you or one of your team members, take responsibility. Do not deflect that responsibility, because that creates a toxic environment. And who wants to work in a toxic environment? That creates attrition, inconsistency, lack of performance, and a negative hit in morale for those individuals who are in that organization. So you can be the change. I believe in you. Believe in yourself, believe in your team, and focus on the solution and how you're going to fix those mistakes and close those loops with your clients, with your people, within your organization, with C-suites and senior executive. So remember to like this video if you like it. Leave me in the comments what other mistakes have you or your team members had experienced by presenting to C-suite senior executive. Either subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and share this video with other leaders in the industry who are determined to level up their careers and improving their communication skills this year. And if this video resonated with you, remember to sign up today to my next bootcamp waiting list, Supercharge Your Communication Power, so you receive firsthand all the promotions, the date, and the details on when, how it's gonna be. I am extremely excited. See you next class. Ciao, ciao.